I'm an economist. That's a character flaw. I apologize. And you know economists, if you know one thing about economists, is that they disagree about how the economy works. Keynes famously said that, Churchill said about Keynes, that if there are two economists in the room, they'll have two opinions. And if one is Mr. Lord Keynes, you'll have three very different opinions. So economists disagree on how the economy works, of what's fundamentally. So what I'll do in the book, I try to view the 4-day week from different economic angles. So I've enlisted the help of 4 of the greatest political economists in history. Each one viewed the economy in a different way. And I'm going to look at the 4-day week from 4 different angles. So I'll give you the overview of the arguments. John Maynard Keynes, British economist, you don't need any presentation. Reason number 1, because it is possible. The choice that we make as society about how much we work and how much we enjoy leisure, it's precisely that. It's a choice. There's no law of economics that tells us that we should work 5 days or 6 or 4. Economics tells us that it's a choice that we as a society should make. Reason number 2, because it will fuel the economy through the demand for leisure industries. And I don't have many quotes. I have this one from Henry Ford that he wrote when he moved in his factories from 6 to 5 days. And he wrote, instead of business being slowed up because people are off work, it will be speeded up because the people consume more in their leisure than in their working time. And this will lead to more work, and this to more profits, and this to more wages. The result of more leisure will be the exact opposite of what most people might suppose it to be. To consume, we need money, but we also need time. It's in our free time that we feel our needs, and it's in our free time that we go to restaurants, to theaters, to cinemas, that we travel. So there is a lot of industries that would be directly benefited by a 4-day week. Tourism, hospitality, culture, entertainment. This is what happened when soon after the US, in the decades after they moved to a 5-day week, you had a boom in cinema. You had the McDonald's started in the 40s, Best Western started in the 40s. If you play the guitar, Fender started in the one of the main producers of guitars started in the 40s. Dixon Sporting Goods, the main sports retailers of the US, started as a fishing shop, also in the 40s. All that to the creation of companies to satisfy the new needs brought by the leisure time. Joseph Schumpeter, not as famous economist, he lived a little bit under the shadow of Keynes, but he was also one of the greatest economists contemporary to Keynes. He was Austrian, and he coined the term creative destruction. He was a thinker of capitalism, why capitalism is the best system to organize the economy. So reason number 3, because it will increase productivity. This is why companies throughout the world in many different sectors are trying and are moving to a 4-day week as a management practice because they see it makes business better. Workers come more rested, so they make fewer mistakes. They work more creatively in the other days. It reduces absenteeism and rotation of workers. That's very costly for firms. So this is the reason why firms are doing it, and this is what we'll be talking about in the second half of the talk. Now, reason number 4, because it will unleash the potential of a vast talent pool of innovators. Where does innovation come from? Innovation, economists think, is the driver of capitalism. The economic growth comes from innovation, creating new companies, new products, new ideas. Where does it come from? We have a view that comes from R&D departments of big multinationals, but there's a lot of innovation coming from regular people with regular jobs that use their leisure time to create something new. And again, coming back to Henry Ford, he wrote in his memoirs in 22, before moving to a 5-day week, how he actually built his first car with internal combustion engine. It was in 1890 that I began on the double-cylinder engine. During the first several months, I was in the night shift at the electric light plant. He was working 6 days a week on a Thomas Edison electricity plant, which gave me very little time for experimenting. But after that, I was in the day shift, and every night and all of Saturday night, I worked on the new motor. I cannot say it was hard work. No work with interest is ever hard. In 1892, I completed my first motor car, and it was not until the spring of the following year that it ran to my satisfaction. It took him 3 years to build his car with internal combustion engine, working all night, every night and all of Saturday nights, having a 6-day day job. He became Henry Ford not because what he did as a worker, but what he did in his leisure time, driven by his passion. And when we go, when we actually study many businesses new ideas started precisely with someone having a day job and then developing something new in their leisure time. Nike started with an accountant that started importing running shoes from Japan. Apple, Steve Jobs, he wasn't really doing much, but Steve Wozniak, that's his companion, he was working for HP while they were building the first Macintosh. Spanx, Harley Davidson, lots of board games or Minecraft that was sold to Microsoft for I don't know how many $1 billion was a project of born out of leisure. And that's why Wired magazine tells you entrepreneurs don't give up your day jobs yet. So in management, there is something called hybrid entrepreneurship. What it means is starting a new company while having a day job. And researchers in management find that companies that start like that are more likely to survive. Are more likely to survive those the first year, those first years. Why? Because they put much less pressure. They take pressure off the entrepreneur because they have some stable income source, so they can devote their time to their company. So we can't think of leisure time as time away from the economy. It's not that we just go to a room, go in a chamber, a happy chamber. We go in, we close, we feel happy, and we come out. No, everything that we do in our leisure time has an economic impact, and some of it comes from the creation of new ideas or new companies. Third economist, Karl Marx, also no introduction needed. Reason number 5, because it will reduce technological unemployment. We have wave after wave of industrial revolution. So now we are in the fourth wave. We get period of very rapid developments in AI, nanotechnology, artificial, and these are great for the economy. They push the frontiers. This drives economic growth, but there's always a side effect. And every industrial revolution, a side effect was technological unemployment. When the car came, all the stable boys saw their jobs and their livelihoods jeopardized because of the car. When you automatize the telephones, all the switchboard operators, the same thing. So it happens, wave after wave of technological innovation comes with this cost. It's a temporary cost. There's no stable boys unemployed today, but it's one when it's very rapid change, it really can jeopardize the structure of society. When you see so many people losing, depreciating, seeing their skills depreciated. Throughout history, one way to deal with the technological unemployment was the reduction of the working day, first from 12 to 10 to 8 hours, and then the working week from 6 to 5 was always a way to, it doesn't solve the problem, but it mitigates. It reduces the pace of job separation, of jobs destruction, of people being fired. It just gives a bit more time, either for workers to retire or for workers to use the time to convert to a different occupation that's more promising. So a lot of when you see the surveys on the 4-day week, what people use their time for, a lot of people go back to study, go back to learn new qualifications. And this might be very important for specific occupations that being jeopardized, taken by robots. Reason number 6, because it will raise wages and reduce inequality. In the last 40 years, basically since 1980s, the wages for a large part of the workforce have stagnated. They haven't shared the benefit of economic growth. How can the 4-day week help raise the wages? Well, wages don't change by law. It's not that the government can come and say wages have to increase 10% or 15%. It changes by market forces. And what are market forces? Demand and supply. If the 4-day week, by increasing the demand for leisure industries, more people for restaurants, for hotels, it's going to, and also because productivity increases, it's going to push demand for workers up. At the same time, because workers supply fewer hours, supply goes down. As this pressure, demand, and the reduction in supply will put pressure on wages to go up. The decades after the Fair Labor Standards Act in the US, the 3 decades, 40s, 50s, and 60s, real wages, so after discounting for inflation, grew up at 10% a decade. 30% a decade. And before and after, they haven't risen more than 10%. So the years or the decades of highest wage growth in the US were the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Finally, running last economist, Friedrich von Hayek, the father of classical liberalism. Reason number 7, because it will give people more freedom to choose what they want to do with their time. So for Hayek, what was important was the freedom to choose, for everyone to choose. Now, can really people choose the amount of hours they work? Some economists held this view, but when you actually go and see, it's not really true. We organize society around a 40-hour, 5-day, 40-hour week. That's the norm. And it's very hard to deviate. So if someone wants to work only 4 days individually, it can work, it can move to part-time, but it has proportional wage cuts. But worse than that, it has another cost, is that usually they are seen as the slackers in the company. They pass on promotion opportunities in the company because they go to part-time. It's very well documented that people who get the promotion are usually the ones who put in more hours in the job. So it fosters this rat race where just putting more hours. And so when people move to part-time, to a 4-day week, it's very, very costly. Who does it? Mainly women. In the UK, 40% of women move to part-time, much more than men. Now think the other way around. Under a 4-day week, people will be free to work more if they want. No one, the weekend doesn't prevent anyone from working more. People can moonlight with a second job, use the gig economy, write a book, do a consultancy project. The weekend and the work week are just ways of coordinating certain types of work. And the week is to coordinate teamwork in companies. But the weekend is a way to coordinate individual work, the one that doesn't require someone to answer an email, as well as the work in leisure industries. So even conservative MPs, they like to moonlight with second jobs beyond Westminster. It's not a problem. And it actually happened when you move from 6 to 5. Some people use their free time to moonlight with a second job. So if you just put in the perspective of freedom, people, the system organized on a 4-day week will give a freedom to everyone to work more if they want, which is not so much the case right now under a 5-day week. And then finally, reason number 8, because by sharing the benefits of economic progress to everyone in society, it will help reconcile the polarized society and deflate populist movements. You see, populists, they bank on the sentiment of disappointment towards the economy. And what they use things that are divisive. The narrative is always us against them, nationals against immigrants, men against women. It's always divisive. But the 4-day week is not divisive. You've seen when I asked you, everyone thinks we would all be happier with a 4-day week. When you ask surveys, 70, 80, 90% of people say they would like a 4-day week. They might be scared, like 1/3 of you, that it might scale down or harm the economy. But as a goal, as an idea, as an aim, it doesn't divide society. So I think we can, it's not easy, and I'll never say it's easy and you can do it in 30 days or 100 days in office, but it's a good goal to have. And all these 4 economists, they are torchbearers of competing ideologies. But that's my view of the 4-day week as a social innovation, is that you might be Marxist or progressive or conservative or liberal. You wouldn't agree with all the arguments, but there would be arguments that would speak to you. And I really believe that if we can work everyone together, we can make it happen much sooner than what people might think.